I'd like to welcome my guests, Jenna Schroeder and Mandy Ecenbarger. They are the authors of a wonderful book that was published, I think, about 6 months ago, and it is Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza and the Case of the Missing Hat. When I first got the email about this book, the company that publishes the game and the book emailed me, and I do want to say, as always, I never get paid for reviews. I will never get paid for reviews. It's extremely important to me that I only have a book on this show if I actually think it's good, and I don't care who published it or how much money they have or anything like that. So I did receive this complimentary copy, which has made the rounds at Chloe's school. I think probably 20 kids were trying to tear it out of her hand. This book is hilarious. I love it. It made me feel the way Saturday morning cartoons used to make me
hmm
feel when I was a
hmm
kid. Just like, this is fun. Sometimes you just need some pure, unadulterated fun. What did you think of it, Chloe?
It was really good. I really enjoyed the art and also the jokes inside the book.
Yeah, definitely very good jokes. So I was hoping we could get started by just having each of you introduce yourselves, maybe tell us how you got into writing and illustration respectively, and maybe a little bit about your background.
Thank you so much. That's such a wonderful compliment. So thank you. And coming from both of you, you're experts. So we just appreciate that. And it's so encouraging to hear. And thanks for having us. So I'm Jenna Schroeder, and I work with my brother at Dolphin Hat Games. He is the creator of the game Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. I've worn many hats there, one of them as the copywriter, along with many other things. I got started writing really young. I would write in my journal, I'd write poetry all through school, all and into college. I was always really interested in writing, and it was also very therapeutic for me. And later and after college, I would write newsletters for nonprofits, and it was always just a side thing, or sometimes it was just an expressive thing that I would always do on the side. And then later on, I started to really use it as a way to express myself when I injured my knee actually once. And then I couldn't be creative in other ways. Like I like to act on stage at community theater, I like to dance. And I injured myself. And so the one way it was coming out for me was through writing. So I started blogging a lot. And long story short, but when the pandemic hit, I wanted to encourage people during that time because it was really tough. So I started using my writing and posting about it to inspire others. And then I wrote a poem that I thought could be a children's book. And that was my first time really imagining my words in that way. So I went on this very long journey to figure out how to publish a children's book. It's called Our Enchanted Forest Reel. That was my first book. My friend and I did that together. And then around that same time, later, and we'll get into it, Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza and the Case of the Missing Hat came into view, but we'll get into that. But that's how I got started in writing and the kind of the journey that I took there.
I have been drawing probably since I want to say a baby because my first masterpiece was when I Vaselined my grandma's TV and powdered her stereo. And thankfully, she only laughed, and, and that was that. But I have always been an artistic person. I've been drawing since I was a kid. I watched the Saturday morning cartoons. I drew what I saw. That continued all through school. I went and actually got my degree in computer animation because I was going to originally be like a 3D animator, but I kind of changed gears after graduating and found that may not have been the thing for me. So I kind of switched gears and I became a graphic designer. So that is my day job, but I have continued to do illustration work on the side. So I feel like graphic design and illustration mesh really well. Like I learned more about how to make art more appealing to look at by using the right colors and things. So I've been continuing to do that ever since, and I'm involved in all things artistic. I love cosplaying as well, and I've learned a lot more about sewing and how much of a headache that can be. So yeah, pretty much all things art is what I'm all about.
What were things that you found easy and difficult about adapting a card game into a book?
how and why in the world would these five inanimate objects be friends, right? Why would a pizza be friends with a goat? And so that was probably the hardest thing when I was first thinking about these characters and how they could be in a story together. But what was neat was during my time at Dolphin Hat, I've been like the voice, kind of writing slogans, and we do little social media posts. And I started to give these characters a little bit of personality here and there, but they really didn't have a personality for the game. It's just a game. What I ended up doing is imagining what would a cat be like if he were to talk and he was talking to a taco, what would he say? And to me, a cat would be kind of suspicious of everyone or be, a know-it-all, and, act real grumpy all the time. To me, that's what a cat might be like in their head. So things like that. So it was really challenging because they were in a game and didn't have any background of why they would be friends. But then when I started thinking more about their characters and their personalities, it came a lot easier to me to make it character driven of a story and to really bring out their friendships with each other. And so it was a challenge, but I think it ended up being one of the best parts of the book is the way that they interact with each other. And then the other thing was, if people didn't know about Taco Cat Go Cheats Piece of the game, would they get some of the jokes in the book that have to do with gameplay? And so I had to make sure that I limited that a little bit, but made it accessible to everybody if they hadn't played the game before. So those are my challenges. I don't know about you, Mandy, if you had any thoughts there.
I feel like you had all of the difficult tasks because once I got your writing, it was fairly easy. You wrote so well that the thoughts just came flowing in and the ideas just went right onto paper. And I didn't have to sit and think about too much of the characters because you had already done all of that work. Like I could immediately pick up on Kat being suspicious and Taco being very lighthearted and fun and just wanting to help everyone. Like I just felt through your writing, I felt each character's thoughts and emotions, and that just so easily came out onto the paper or the screen, if you will. So thanks for doing all the hard work.
You're the best.
Well, I actually had a little bit of a question about the design itself. So the characters from the book don't exactly match the graphic design in the game, and that's fine. It really couldn't. I mean, in the game, I think it makes sense for them to be more simple like this. But how did you decide on the art style? Were you given instructions ahead of time, or did you kind of bounce ideas back and forth? How'd you work that out for the way that these characters ended up looking?
I think Jenna asked me, like, how do we want these to look? And I said, well, here's what I can offer. I can give you one option. So I drew one page and I, as best I could, mimic the style of the original characters. And I said, here's what the story would look like with this style. And then I drew it in the style that it is now with more of a cartoony personal touch to it. And I said, here's two options. What do you think would best work to bring these characters to life? And ultimately, it was chosen that the more cartoony style would better bring out the characters' expressions and features. Because Kat, as you know, is very animated, and his facial expressions got crazy and suspicious, and you really couldn't bring that out as well with the original style. So that's kind of how we ended up with that.
It was really neat too because Mandy was able to show us both options. And I remember talking with our small team, my brother Dave, who was the one originally wanted it. When I brought the story to him, was that this should be a graphic novel. And so when we showed both of them, it was kind of it was just a no-brainer, and we just really loved how Mandy articulated the expressions of the characters and where she could zoom in and do some kind of, it just really drew you into the story. And I think we just loved it. So
I think that the results speak for themselves. I mean, when we first started reading this together, it arrived in the mail and we opened it, the characters really were so well formed that I could hear their accents, and I instantly even knew which accents. I don't I don't know if you want to hear the ones that we came up with, but I read the taco with like a Valley Girl kind of voice, and the cat was Catwoman, but the Eartha Kitt one. you know, not Julie Newmar, all due respect to Julie Newmar, but it was definitely Eartha Kitt. Um, Goat, I had a full-on like Tennessee accent when I was reading the
Yes.
part. Cheese, you've got to go with Wisconsin. Full-on
Oh yeah.
Uber, you
Mhm.
know, just it worked. And then the pizza, of course, has to be a surfer dude. And
Yeah.
so when I
Oh,
was when we were reading the book, we were and that was the accents were so instantly obvious, but that's how well formed these characters were. I could hear the cat purring, just odd. It's not like you to lose things, you know. And then except when I get overstuffed, like you know, and the taco is talking, it was so obvious how these were supposed to sound to us. And I know other readers will have their own interpretations, but yeah, for having literally a taco, literally a cat, a goat, a cheese, and a pizza, they have very well-formed personalities, and I really appreciated that.
the other funny thing about that, and this is just in the writing when I sent it to my friend who edited it for us, he's like, you know, you have the biggest challenge is that your character is an inanimate object, and they're also referring to other like pizza. So like pizza, they're
Yes,
referring to
cheese.
pizza. And so like to figure out which one to capitalize, like it was so important to make sure that we didn't make pizza eating pizza or you know.
Yeah,
So
but to a certain degree, you just shouldn't overthink it,
yeah,
right? Like it is just silly. An
it is
image
silly.
I loved. I'm going to see if we can find this picture. This made us laugh so hard. There's a closet, and Taco looks in the closet, and there's shells in the closet. I died. Was that so funny?
That was all Jenna.
Like,
Yeah,
oh,
She
right,
was
right
the
here, you got it.
mastermind for that.
Voila.
It was just, yeah, chef's kiss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I,
the shell's already folded. Like, how does that
Well,
exactly work?
they're hard taco shells. We usually eat soft tortillas at home, but yeah, they're hard shells.
I
Anyway.
just thought it would be funny if, yeah, you know how in a lot of those movies, like someone will go into their closet and it's just soup, 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 soup. And that's kind of where that came from. What if
It
it
was
was just
brilliant.
taco shell,
Yeah,
taco
it's
shell, taco shell? And Mandy was hip to it. She was ready to make it happen.
It was fantastic. I read this and I'm like, yes, this is amazing.
yeah. Oh, and that's what I mean with like that Saturday morning cartoon vibe to it. Like, don't overthink it. Just enjoy it. Like,
Mhm.
and it presents so many opportunities for very silly sight gags.
What was your favorite character inside the book?
Oh, that is so hard. I think I know Mandy's, but I'm gonna let her answer that. Um, it's really hard because when I first thought of this like group of friends, it kind of reminded me a little bit of a nod to Winnie the Pooh. I loved watching Winnie the Pooh growing up and how they were all friends and they had these different personalities. And so there's certain parts of each of the characters that I love that remind me of someone I know or just in my head, you know. Like you said, pizza is totally surfer dude. And it's really hard because I think I always thought, you know, Goat's my favorite. He's so chill. He's so laid back. He's trying to help everybody. He helps, you know, a gorilla through a jam, and he's just like, hey, simmer down. Um, but I want to say, as I was rating it, Cat makes me laugh 100%. The things that came, the words that came out of me for him, and then also the drawings that Mandy, you know, totally nailed. I think I just love them all. I don't know if I can pick, but I will say something I love about Taco is in my head, he was kind of the glue to the whole friend group and the one that kept everybody together. And there's this scene that Mandy drew, so I wrote where he said, "Oh, sure, Gorilla, you can fit in." And if you zero in on that expression of Taco's face, I don't know, it just makes me smile so big because it's just like that person that you know that's like, yeah, it'll work out. It's fine. Not worrying about a thing. So I think I'm not really answering your question, but I would say Taco is probably the character that is the most endearing to me. But I have to say that Cat really cracks me up.
Well, that makes sense because you know everybody can come together over tacos.
Yeah, right? Actually, I have a sign in my office says, I can't make everybody happy. I'm not a taco.
Well, what about you, Mandy? Do you have a favorite character? I know it's like asking you to pick your favorite child, but
It
you
is
know.
hard. It's hard.
Well, like Jenna said, I really do love them all because they have unique personalities, but my favorite is by far Cat. And that's because Cat has this energy that goes instantly from 0 to 100. And when he decides he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And anybody that objects, it's mutiny, or like, this is a mystery we have to solve. Like, there's that energy there that just feels so good to bring out. And I had the most opportunities with Kat to draw the exaggerated expressions and the movements and things that he did that were so like crazy and just so exaggerated, if you will, compared to the other characters that would just be watching Kat do these crazy things. Like he just had the most energy, and I kind of resonated with that because I'm more of a chill person like Goat. So Goat's my second favorite, but Kat is like the I wish I could bring out that energy as a person and be that energetic. So I do it with art instead.
Yes, you do. Do you have a favorite character? Chloe, do you have one?
I'd say it's either between Cheese
Hmm,
and Goat.
totally.
Why? What is it that you like about Cheese and Goat the most?
Goat uses the word kick a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just throws it in. Like I
Hey,
feel
Taco. Hey, Cat. What's kicking?
yeah, like he just throws it in whenever he's like, "Hey, I just want to say kick right now, so let's just put it into a simple sentence."
Tell them about your favorite picture in the book and then explain why.
Um,
Are you even going to be able to do it, or is it too funny?
um,
She's trying to explain why this is her favorite picture.
It's hard to explain. It's one of our faves too, so
all I
I
can
understand.
say is it's very creative.
It, it's very funny. Like you can never go wrong with an
Yeah.
underwear joke. Like you
Yeah.
just
Right.
can't.
Right.
Like just like it's like
And
sometimes people can get so precious about this, especially when books are taught in schools. Like if there is one booger joke in a story, people will clutch at their pearls and be like, oh, but there's the booger joke. And it's like, yeah, but you know what? It makes the kids read the book and then they laugh and they have a good time. So yeah, that definitely, yeah, the cheese with the mask on as underpants, definitely Chloe's favorite picture in the whole book. But we were also curious to know what your favorite pictures were in the book. Oh, you have another one you want to show them? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
show us.
this one here.
Oh, that one's great. The one in the middle where he's yelling silence. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That's a great one.
Bringing the drama as
Yeah.
you had explained.
Silence.
Cat is so dramatic.
It's four little fingers, one in the air.
Mhm. But yeah, do you guys have favorite images from the book?
My favorite is definitely the same as Chloe's. That whole scene, again, Jenna just kind of gave me the general story and said, Cheese puts it on and it's unusual, and the characters look at him unusual. So I had to kind of figure out, how do I make this look odd, that he puts it on and it's just not right. There's something not right. And that immediately popped into my head, and I sketched it out. I laughed at it a lot. And then I thought, let's just see what they say. Let's see what their sense of humor is. If they don't like it, that's fine, but let's just try. And it was just an instant win. And I'm like, yes, because every time I look at it, it's just like Cheese just does what he does. And he is 100% confident in it. And he flaunts the underwear mask throughout the rest of the book. And it's just fabulous. I love his confidence.
It's so funny because it's really neat. It was really neat to like send Mandy script and then she'd reply with illustration and it would be like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I was thinking. But and this one, this was so funny. I was not expecting this picture at all, and it cracked me up. Even in her email, she's like, "I don't know what your kind of humor might be with this." I could tell Mandy that you're a little nervous, and it was just spot on for me, spot on for my brother Dave, who was the original game designer, and it was so funny too because we thought about that, like, is this gonna be a problem with a children's book? And there's another, there's those things that you toy with, but the whole point is just to be funny. And the more and more when I hear kids read it or see it, like that's one of their favorite parts. That's the part that makes them laugh. And really, really neat to see. It was really neat to see how Mandy's brain worked and what came out of it. That picture is hilarious.
Well, I mean, look,
yeah.
we all have to admit that bottoms are funny.
Yeah,
They just are. They are. Now, it's not always the right time,
right.
but for a silly book like this, yeah, bottoms are funny, and wearing something that is not underwear or wearing underwear on your head or whatever, pick
It's
something,
funny.
but it's funny. It's
Yeah.
funny.
And how a cheese is going to put it on is very entertaining, you know?
Right? Because a cheese would require neither a mask nor underwear. So the entire premise is absurd. Like just
Right.
it's fantastic.
Right.
And that kind of goes into my next question for you, which is that I think this book would be really good for like the academic term for it is reluctant reader. And these are kids who, for a variety of reasons, don't like to read. Maybe they've only had the wrong books shoved at them. Maybe they've got dyslexia, you know, sometimes reading is just tough and not all kids take to it. I'm really lucky. Both of my girls are very enthusiastic readers and neither of them have struggled, but I have, been around plenty of kids who have. And I don't know if you intentionally set out to make your book so friendly toward kids who might struggle to read, like, even just the font, like you guys used a Comic Sans font on that, which because it's like a little less sharp and a little less ornate. It's going to be easier for kids to read if they struggle with reading. And then again, also just the bright colors and graphics and everything. So, I mean, did you intentionally set out to think, oh, we're going to make this good for kids with disabilities or kids who hate reading? Or did you just think we want good design and then it naturally flowed from there?
That's a great question. And I love that that is your opinion of it too, because it's always been really important to like Dolphin Hat Games for the games that we um, make that anybody could play them. They're very inclusive, easy to play. And we've heard that a lot of kids that have dyslexia or have other issues can play our games because they're not so word heavy. So it's a lot easier for them. There's not as much of a barrier to play our games. And it's really neat to hear that the book is actually following um, that same train of thought because it wasn't necessarily my intention to write it that way, but I think when I was writing it, I wanted to be very conversational style, like very just funny puns that were silly that kids would like. And I think, and then putting it in a graphic novel, I really had to kind of edit it down the conversation too, because you can't fit all of that and all of the images into a page. And so, it wasn't necessarily my intention. However, I did want to make it something that kids would read and they wouldn't feel overwhelmed by, but they would feel like they were just right in the story. So it wasn't intentional, but I'm really glad that that is the result.
I think, sometimes you can go in intentionally and not, but a good book with good design is going to end up with that result regardless. So, whatever process gets it there, that's fantastic. I mean, so I know Chloe, the day you took this to school and people were like ripping it out of your hands, what were some of the comments that your friends had about the book?
So someone who hadn't quite finished it said that they really enjoyed it, even though they didn't have the chance to finish it. They really loved the illustrations and all the jokes inside it. Basically, all the same comments came from everyone else.
And you have a pretty diverse group of friends, like pretty wide variety of interest. And I have to say the reaction, I've probably shown this book to maybe about 20 kids since we got it, between neighbors and friends and things like that. And it's just been universally loved because their first reaction is, oh, we love that game, but then lots of them would go, but is the book any good? And
Mhm.
then, 10 minutes later, their mother's saying, come on, we gotta go, and they're still trying to read through it. So I think it really did end up with that universal appeal that you were hoping for. And I guess the one thing we really want to know is, will there be more taco, cat, goat cheese, pizza adventures? And what sort of mysteries will they be solving in the future?
Well, the answer to that is yes, there will be. And I'm actually,
Yay! High five.
yeah. I'm working on the second one right now, and I've outlined actually a series of ideas. So, but working on the second one right now. My hope is to let each of the characters have get to star in each one a little bit. Um, I'm not sure if I should say what the second one is, but I will say that Kat gets into some catastrophe at a carnival and then mayhem breaks loose. So so we will keep you posted on when that one is ready and you know, comes out, but right now it's in the works.
Fantastic. And
Yeah.
so, Mandy, are you doing any art for the moment, or is that top secret information?
I was asked to be on board again, and I was 500% for it. So I don't know any other details than that, but I'm really excited.
Great. Well, and actually, I have a question for you guys that just popped into my head. So did you two know each other before you worked on this together, or how did you end up working together?
Well, Mandy did some of the original artwork with our games. Mandy, I know that Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, the first version, I think my brother did, but then did he brought you on right away after that, right?
So have you ever heard of the domino effect, where you do maybe one small action in your life and that creates this cascading list of events that happen that lead up to something grand? I feel like that's what happened with how I came to work with Dolphin Hat, because if I may explain a little bit about how that came to be, probably about 10 years ago, I was in a very small convention selling some artwork. And there was another vendor there who also ran a convention. And he's like, I like your art. Will you be my artist for my convention? And I said, sure, that sounds great. So I do that. And he puts my name and website up on their convention website. Well, another game creator saw my link, checked out my art, loved it, and asked if I would be part of his project. And I was more than happy to. This game was called Galatoon. And so I was part of this awesome project. And somewhere along the way, Galatoon partnered and they made a card with Dolphin Hat. So there was a special promo card that had all of the characters, Taco Cat, Goat Cheese Pizza, Gorilla, and all the rest on this card. And I believe it was Dave who saw this and he loved it. And a little bit after that, that was where Dolphin had approached me if asking if I would do any other work for them. And then that's when I began. So Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza already existed. And then I came in and just kind of did some box art updates and things, and then eventually did some other game art, and then came the Taco Cat book. So really, like, I feel like there was such a tiny thing that I did that led to like this like, if I hadn't done that one thing where I met this person at this convention, I feel like none of this amazing set of events would have happened. And I'm so grateful for it. Like, it's been awesome. So long story
Fantastic.
short, like, amazing things can happen from really small decisions that you make.
Isn't that
No,
wonderful?
I think that that's a really good message too, especially to get out to kids. I think a lot of people will sometimes think that good things happen by fate or by accident. You know, people will go, "Oh, you're so talented," but it's like, no, it's actually you're so hardworking is the better compliment, I think.
Mm,
And if you are ready for those opportunities when they come along, then you'll be able to jump on that train and get going, you know, because you've already done the hard work to be ready for it. So, no, it's
hmm
a
And
good lesson for kids to hear if any kids are
it
watching.
it is. That is such a neat lesson. And I remember that now that you share that, Mandy, that's how Dave found you. And the neat thing is I'm so thankful because there's nobody else who would have known these characters so well or the brand so well who would have been able to to really execute it in the way that we would want it to come alive, especially, you know, for the first one. It's so special. So I'm so thankful that she was there and ready to pursue it with me.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today. Do you want to let us know where people can find you online and tell us if there's any other projects that you're currently working on that you want to plug?
You can find me at jennaschroeder.com or at Jenna A. Schroeder on Instagram. And then all of our games, the book, dolphinhat.com, but they're also sold on Amazon, small game and toy shops everywhere, and hopefully soon in Barnes and Noble. Yeah, and then as far as other projects I'm working on the next follow-up book, working on that script now. And I also am working on a few other inspirational kids books under Little Bird Press. And so hopefully those will be coming out as well soon.
You can find me online. If you search Mandy Ecenbarger, you won't find anything. But if you search Yammer, Yamer, you'll find all of my social links. So yamerpro.com is my main website that links to everything. And you can find all of my work online. In terms of projects, in addition to working with Dolphin Hat, I've been working on a lot of my own side things. So I have a booth that I take and I sell all kinds of things like stickers and prints and bags and things. I also run a sticker club. So I'm always doing something artistic, and I've been working with a few conventions doing artwork for them. So it's all about art for me.
Well, if you sell a t-shirt with cheese with the mask undies on, I'd definitely buy that. You would, wouldn't you? Yeah. Okay, we'd both buy a cheese shirt with
I
the
think I
mask
would too.
undies.
That's a fantastic idea.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. I really can't recommend this book enough. It's so fun. I mean, it's different in style, but I would put it in the same category of books like, Dog Man, which is also a series that we're quite fond of, things like that. It's just fun. Just enjoy it, have fun. I think all kinds of kids will enjoy this. I don't even want to necessarily plug it to a particular age range because my 4-year-old obviously can't read it herself yet, but she enjoyed having it read to her. And I've even tried this on a few teenagers and they were like, "Oh, this is fun. Like I will read this." Like they didn't write it off as it's just for little kids. This really is a good all ages book. It's a great family read. It will leave you giggling, won't it? I mean, you're giggling so much you could hardly describe your favorite picture. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us and please let us know what wonderful adventures you get up to in the next one.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.